Since the beginnings of TikTok, the platform has often found itself at the center of many different controversies. Now, often this is due to the ever-growing concerns over data collection, or a particular challenge that has thus placed the lives of youth in jeopardy. However, there are many other instances in which some of humanity's darkest moments would quite literally unfold on the platform. From failures in moderation to downright murder being broadcasted to thousands of people worldwide. This series aims to uncover the facts behind these atrocities. More importantly, to do so by shedding light on how these things actually came to be. But I must warn you, these stories are not for the faint of heart. We will not hold back on the details. This is a journey into the abyss. Without any further ado, let's talk about some of the worst things to happen on TikTok, Episode 1, Lhamo. Downright tragic in every way. So theoretically, this story takes us to the Chinese version of the platform, Douyin. There was this Tibetan woman by the name of Lhamo. Well, the then 30-year-old TikToker living in southwestern China began absolutely exploding on the platform just prior to lockdowns of 2020, accumulating roughly 220,000 followers and garnering millions and millions of views in the process. Now, there were quite a few reasons she was able to captivate as many people as she did. For one, Lhamo had made several videos educating that part of the world as to what it was like to be a female herb picker, showing not only the true grit of herself, but her elderly father as well. As a matter of fact, she, along with her father, would post some relatively funny videos of these competitions they had been having, like seeing who could pull a wooden sled down a hill the fastest, with every single instance ending in the pair laughing and having a great time. But there was really one core element inside every single piece of content this woman uploaded. That was this extremely uplifting aura that just seemed to resonate with her viewers alongside of the wholesome content she had been putting out. In essence, every single time Lhamo was on that camera, her smile, her attitude, and this energy were just always there. Moreover, this personality would absolutely be proven during her live streams to the point where, if in fact Lhamo had been putting on an act, which I have no reason to believe, she was damn good. Her following had finally stumbled across a genuine heart of gold with an outlook on life that one can only dream of having. A little rugged, difficult, but a happy one nonetheless. As a matter of fact, she seemed happier than most who have everything they need constantly within arm's reach. It was honestly quite a beautiful thing, and to the many who had been tuning in, her page was a great escape from all of the hardships experienced due to COVID. Well, little did her following know, Lhamo had quite literally been experiencing hell for quite some time, in the form of an extremely abusive ex-husband. You see, the couple had ended up getting married pretty much as soon as Lhamo turned 18. Well, before too long, Lhamo became pregnant with their first of 2 children. But at some point along the way, Tang became extremely abusive and just downright evil towards Lhamo. He had been beating her and forcing her to endure these very disturbing bouts of humility directly in front of their own children. And it's with a very heavy heart, I have to say, things from this point on, unfortunately, get even worse, as Lhamo would reach out for help several times, calling the police on many occasions, notifying certain organizations that were supposed to be protecting women from these type of situations, yet, time and time again, absolutely nothing would be done. You see, domestic violence laws, even up to that point, were stringent at best. In other words, there were thousands upon thousands of women trapped in these downright abusive relationships, married to someone who treated them like garbage. What's more is, there were little to no laws supporting their specific rights in these relationships. Well, eventually, there is a slight ray of sunshine casted upon Lhamo, in the form of being granted a divorce from Tang. Finally, she was able to get herself out from under his roof, where she would move back in with her father to continue picking herbs. However, Tang was to maintain custody of their children, and while she had posted about this on other forms of social media such as Weibo, only a handful of people over on TikTok actually would have known just how bad things had gotten. So in a way, she herself had been using the platform as an escape from this reality while helping others do the same. Well, not too long after the divorce goes through, Tang begins showing up to the family farm, completely uninvited, trying to woo her back, promising that he had changed his ways, essentially begging Lhamo for another chance. But time and time again, and for good reason, she would reject his pleas. It was at this point Tang realized that Lhamo was never going to buy back into any of his BS, thus once again becoming extremely violent. More so, threatening to end the lives of their very own children if she didn't get back together with him. Well, with each and every instance Tang lashed out, Lhamo would fill out another report. Yet, still absolutely nothing would be done. It was at this point, Lhamo was pretty much forced to bounce in between her father's place as well as her sister Dolma's in order to avoid Tang. And here it is. One evening in September of 2020, Lhamo is live streaming to about 400 people, and everything seems to be perfectly fine as yet again she is standing in front of that camera, laughing, smiling, having a great time alongside her viewers, when all of a sudden an extremely loud crash followed by a male's voice yelling off camera can be heard. It was at this point Lhamo can be seen entering a state of sheer terror as she grabs and fumbles her phone. Now a few seconds would go by with the sounds of an obvious struggle being heard. The stream then came to an abrupt end. Now at that time, when a stream unexpectedly cut out, the app would continue to allow viewers to chat amongst themselves for a few minutes, until it became apparent the streamer was in fact not coming back. Well, it was over the course of the next few minutes, that chat absolutely started to blow up, filled with comments trying to determine what in the world had just happened. Who the heck was that? Was this all some sort of sick joke? To which many viewers replied, no, that was true fear. Well, just one day later, the grim and utterly horrifying truth had came out. Tang Lu had broken into their home carrying a can of gasoline. He would then unleash this downright barbaric attack on Lhamo, and when everything was said and done, he set flames to the woman shortly before fleeing the scene. Now, Lhamo was fairly quickly transported to a hospital where she would spend the next 2 weeks fighting for her life. However, the damage done to her was simply too great, as she went into cardiac arrest several times prior to passing away. As for Tang, he was arrested just a few days later, where it was determined he was to pay restitutions to Lhamo's family prior to being executed, a sentence which would be carried out roughly 8 months later in 2021, meaning he is no longer alive. Well, understandably so, this case caused immediate international outcry. Not so much in the United States, but people from all over the world began using the hashtag #LhamoAct. And while this was indeed to promote awareness of what had actually happened, this was more about bringing new legislation protecting women in China. Essentially, cases involving extremely brutal domestic violence had been all too common leading up to this point. More so, even though there were systems put in place in order to protect women in these situations, it was extremely apparent the systems had been failing. As a matter of fact, since laws protecting women were implemented in 2016, more than 900 women have died at the hands of their very own husbands. And one of the craziest facts about this case is that it would take Tang assaulting Lhamo's sister Dolma for Lhamo to actually be granted a divorce. It didn't matter how many times she herself had been assaulted, humiliated, struck down. It took aggression towards someone else to actually be listened to. Lastly, one of the biggest questions I get about this case is what exactly happened to the children? Well, I have heard through the grapevine, so to speak, so I cannot prove this, that at one point Dolma could be found on Weibo, updating Lhamo's fans in regards to things that had been unfolding. Well, allegedly, she began battling for custody of the 2 children shortly after Tang was sentenced to death, but no further updates have been made as of now. So that's it, y'all. That is going to do it for this episode of Worst Things to Happen on TikTok. I sincerely hope you have an amazing whatever it is, wherever you may be. Peace out.